Welcome to the Dead Bedroom Revival Podcast. My name is Curry, your host, and I'm excited to be making this episode. Thank you very much, guys, for contacting me on Instagram, where you've asked more questions about the last episode, and I didn't realize that there's quite a lot of people that have been in this situation where somebody has told them that they want a divorce. So the question was to expand a little bit more on the actual conversation. Like, what do I really say when she says she wants a divorce? And I think this is very important because most people, when they talk about, at least when they speak, when she says she wants a divorce, usually they're begging and they're asking for a second chance and they're asking her what they need to do in order to change so the relationship can go forward. And this is, I'm totally against it. I think sometimes somebody might tell you over a long period of time what they want or what they need in terms of the relationship. And if they're not getting that within the relationship, then they might opt to divorce. So, and again, yesterday I talked about the elastic band, that if you think about stretching the elastic band, if you don't identify how those issues are causing you to stretch that elastic band and not find a way back, you can continue stretching it until it gets to the point where it snaps or it stretches to the point where it won't go back. So if you find yourself in this situation, the last thing you want to do is start begging or being pathetic and crying and asking for a second chance, and really pretty much, with the lack of better words, I'm not saying she's the devil, but selling your soul to the devil, because you were literally willing to give your soul to turn this position. That's the most horrible way, because if she says yes and you manage to get a yes from that tactic, you will be so miserable within that relationship because she's in control of how you behave, how you think. And what I mean in control is that you are operating out of fear of divorce, which is worse than just being yourself. So it's not a really good relationship if you are operating out of fear and you are thinking that at any given point she might bring out that divorce card again. So this is why it's very important that when somebody presents that to you, you are willing to let it all flow. Just let it flow. Just let it go. The quicker you can do that, the quicker you can win her back. Because 9 times out of 10, when she says she wants a divorce, she's about at least 70% sure that this is what she wants. There's about 30%, maybe 20% that feels like, no, maybe it can be changed, it can turn. And what I can tell you is that you only need 1% in order to change this position. But the things that you do after she says it are very important. And they are counterintuitive to what you'd normally do, which, like I mentioned on the previous episode, you have to be willing to let it go. So the conversation would go something like this: I want a divorce. And then you would ask her, and this is important, you have to be able to ask her why, at least once. So this comes from a Kaizen. In Toyota has got this process that they do where it's of continuous improvement, so how they track their manufacturing. And they've got this process called the 5 whys, that it takes you 5 whys to get the root of the problem. So if somebody says they want a divorce, you can ask them, why do they want a divorce? Generally, when they give you the first answer, it's going to be surface level. It's going to be very general. I'm unhappy in this relationship. You are unhappy, or you are a bad husband, or I don't feel like you love me, or the passion is gone. very general. So why do you feel that way? That's what I would ask next. That's the second why. Now I'm trying to dive deeper. Why does she feel this way? Because we don't spend enough time together, or when you do spend time, you're either playing your video games. I don't feel like you're helping me around the house. You're not helping around with the children, or you haven't been. It could be whatever service level. And again, this is just a slightly deeper, but then you could ask a third why. Personally, I would stick it to two, but because sometimes you almost hear this sort of general, and then she becomes more isolated to the answer. So like you're trying to isolate the real reason, and in the end, if you ask another why, the one that you might actually hear is that my mom and dad were miserable for over 20 years, and I don't want the same for my relationship. Or Stacy from next door, she got divorced and she's happier now. So there's things that you can really narrow it down. And then sometimes you can actually see from the answers whether your relationship is turnable or untenable. Because again, if these are fueled by her insecurities, she has to work through those by herself. You can't be responsible to work her insecurities, because the moment you try, you're putting yourself in that situation again, which is probably worse than you changing everything in order for her to stay. So it becomes very, very important that when she brings this divorce word, she's already conflicted, working through a lot of negative thoughts about you, about the relationship, about life, about being a parent. And she wants some sort of relief. And when you act pathetic and you are, because the relief is really her feeling justified for that decision. And she would feel justified if she saw you being pathetic and useless and being this crybaby. When you do that, she goes, yes, he is pathetic, he is useless, he's a crybaby. Definitely right decision to believe in him. But if you're stoic, so you stand strong, you chin up, and you say, I am going to help you to make this as smooth as possible for the children, for you, because I do still care about you. But I will respect your decision. I'll respect your space. So just to rehash this. So you ask her why it's happening at least 3 times. And really what you're trying to do is isolate the real reason why she's doing this. Because you might actually find that it's her decision is, but that's going to be the next episode that I'm going to be making, that when it comes to decision making, the quality of the decision can be determined by environment, influences in people, and also it can be just luck. So you make a decision based on a lucky sequence of events. So you'll be able to isolate what is fueling that decision, and out of all of them, your response should be for you to disqualify yourself from the husband thing. So when you disqualify yourself, you're giving her that opportunity to deal with that, all that negativity that she's been dealing with. She has to deal with it by herself and come to her place where she feels like, okay, maybe this is a bad decision. If she comes back to you having sorted all of that, you're going to have the correct footing to start the relationship in a much better way. Because if you take that burden off and you say, I will do anything to keep you here, it's a very compelling offer, but that means that you've just sold your soul to the devil. And I'm not saying she's a devil, but this is pretty much close enough to what it is. So if you are now, some of you guys have probably been in this situation and you begged, you cried, you threatened to kill yourself or whatever there's other people that have actually followed through with this. Do not do that. This is divorce. Yes, it's painful. Yes, you're going to struggle. Yes, it's going to be heartbreaking, and it's going to be heartbreaking for your kids. There's so many things that are going to happen. It's going to be embarrassing, your in-laws, friends, telling people that's what you're going through. It's just a terrible situation. But there's light at the end of the tunnel, because maybe this relationship isn't for you. So I know we discussed more about this sexless relationship and what's going on, but we've just come across this episode because I've been getting questions about it. So I feel like I need to address it. But hopefully this has answered some questions. So just to recap it again, when you're having this conversation, ask it why it's happening at least 2 to 3 times. Once you ask those questions, you're trying to isolate the real reason why it's happening. And you're going to get the first why is going to give you a superficial answer. And then you might get a slightly isolated answer. But to really, really narrow it down, you can ask the third one. And you will find what's really, really fueling that decision. And sometimes, like I said, it could be, insecurities, it could be influence, it could be any of those decision-making triggers. And from there, you do not beg her to stay. You don't beg for a second chance. You disqualify yourself from the whole scenario so that she can deal with what she needs to deal with. So if you are going to get back together, and I can guarantee you, when you disqualify yourself, you become attractive. It almost changes what she's been thinking is going to happen. She would have thought, yes, he's going to beg for me and try and get me back. But the fact that you've just sort of disqualified yourself, it makes you instantly attractive. I'm going to explain that on a different episode, why that happens. It's just, but then quick explanation, it's kind of like when you see a child with 2 toys and they're not interested in one and they're really solely focused on one. The moment another child comes and takes the other toy, they get obsessed with the other one. So it's one of those things that the thing that you thought, I don't really care if I play with it. All of a sudden, when somebody now wants to take it away or it's going away, then it becomes attractive. So it's very, very important to disqualify yourself and just say, you know what, I'm going to help you make this transition to be as smooth as possible for you, the children, and for everybody involved. It's going to be painful, but we can handle it. And that's you disqualifying yourself. I can guarantee you she'll be wanting you more than ever before. So if you want to learn more and really want to get an isolated, or at least a map to get this resolved, like real coaching to get this resolved, go to deadbedroomrevival.com at Instagram, and we'll be able to help you with this, because there's a few guys I'm already now speaking to, and they feel better about themselves at the moment, because we're still working with them first before they start making moves to really start changing their marriage. So thank you very much for listening, and hopefully this has been impactful as it's been impactful for me, because this is exactly what I live for. And these past few days have been the best 2 days of my life, especially after the accident and everything else that was going on. I felt like I've really spoken to people and made some impact. And I hope this episode is one of those that actually makes you a better person, a better version of yourself, and be able to turn this horrible situation. So thank you very much for listening. Hope you're seeing you soon. Take care.